People died in this movie. You thought that a lot of people died at the end of Man of Steel? No, no. Imagine that times about 20 in this movie. Yeah, people died. Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell, and this is once again coming from my apartment. Now today we are going to be talking about the film Independence Day Resurgence. Now this is the sequel to the 1996 film called Independence Day, starring Will Smith, which I've actually never seen. It's a film that I've always planned to see, always wanted to see, never really got around to it. So I went into this movie very blind, not knowing the backstory per se, but a lot of it is kind of filled in. You kind of get the general idea of what happened. I've heard enough about how the whole thing concluded with a virus from like Windows 98 or something. The resolution in this film is not quite as simple. So this film stars a lot of the characters from that first movie, not Will Smith. For whatever reason, he didn't decide to come back for the sequel. So we have Liam Hemsworth leading the batch of new recruits who are eventually going to take over this franchise because it is going to become a franchise. We have Jeff Goldblum returning, we have Bill Pullman returning as the president, and we have basically Will Smith's son, supposedly, Jesse Usher, who plays his son in this movie. And the general idea is that since the War of 96, as they call it, the Earth has been preparing for the return of these alien creatures which attacked them on Independence Day, and they've been just prepping for this for the last 20 years, enhancing their technology, building up defenses, and then the aliens show up, and they just get... defenses just get wiped out, and they're basically on their last breath. Like, it comes down to the wire and whether or not humanity survives in this movie. So the destruction aspect of this film just looks fantastic. When the aliens show up eventually, about 45 minutes into the film, it just looks so cool just seeing them just wipe out all the defenses, just fire and just like hellfire, just taking down just the Earth basically. It's just like the ship is landing on the Earth, and it just looks like a wall of fire that's just overcoming the whole surface of the Earth as it's landing. And it's just a very cool image and a very terrifying image. Like, if this happened now in present day in real life, I'm pretty sure we'd be done in like a week. Yeah, humanity we would not survive this. Along with that, CGI looks also very, very good. It comes with the destruction aspects and a lot of the extra special effects in this movie, including the aliens, which we see a fair amount of, surprisingly, in this film, a lot more than I was actually expecting to see, honestly. But one of the main issues of this film is the dialogue. The dialogue just has a lot of cringeworthy moments in it, where it's just like, I understand what you're trying to get at with some of this stuff, but it's just like, it could have been delivered a little bit better, it could have been written a little bit better, and it just kind of bugged me at some points. The main problem that I think this film deals with, though, is that it is so packed with people, so packed with different stories, that I cannot simply do justice to all of them. We are opened up with Liam Hemsworth and Jesse Usher. They have a conflict going on, and we see this new batch of people who in the military who are going to eventually lead this franchise, and you see their stories like begin to unfold at the end of the movie. We have Jeff Goldblum doing his own thing. We have Bill Pullman doing his own thing with his daughter. And then about an hour and 15 minutes in the film, we have Jeff Goldblum's father and a group of kids doing their own story. I felt like this film could have been any one of those 4 or 5 different stories, and it would have worked just as well, just as fine. It might not have been as interesting, but seeing just these different angles of this whole massacre which is happening, it doesn't really work because it can't tell the full thing. It's not able to do justice to any of these stories, really, as a result. And as a result, you don't really care that much about the characters. If you saw the first one, you might have some level of caringness about about like Jeff Goldblum and Bill Pullman and anyone else who's recurring for this movie, but I just really didn't ultimately care that much about anyone surviving in this movie. Like, it's like, oh, they could die. Okay. And that's also where the movie kind of fails for me, is that it is very predictable, and that it falls into a lot of the kind of predictability things with these types of disaster movies. It's like, you think that a group of people, including some of our main characters, oh, they end up looking like they're about to all die, and then 20 minutes later we go back and see, oh hey, they survived somehow, and they're gonna come back and save the day eventually. And it's just a lot of these tropes with these movies which it just didn't make the film as enjoyable as it might have could have been, or as dark or as realistic as it might have really needed to be to sell this movie to an audience. It just felt like it was very predictable. I could just see these things coming from a mile away. I did like the idea that this film shows in that in the aftermath of the '96 event, the world basically has had peace for 20 years. The world, like, borders have been dropped essentially. The world is acting as one unit, building up defenses as one unit, and basically just living together in genuine harmony. And it's kind of a cool idea, and it kind of reinforces the idea that we need like some sort of cataclysmic event, like an alien attack of some sort, that we can fend off and unite together as a planet, because otherwise we're going to kill each other, and yeah, nuclear destruction isn't the best option. Guys, Independence Day Resurgence, ultimately, it's an okay movie. It's a fun destruction, big sci-fi, not big sci-fi. It's a fun, big destruction, special effect-y movie. If you're able to show off your brain, essentially, you're gonna have a good time with it. But it does have some issues, and I just had a lot of things which ultimately played the movie for me. I'm sure that they'll be brought up because there is going to be a sequel to this movie, I assure you. Also just tanks in the box office, which I highly doubt. And maybe they'll bring up more of the stories then, or something. But I just felt like this film could have been a lot more than it was, and for the 2 hours that it went on, it just didn't really deliver on a lot of stories for me, which is what I go to movies to see. It's the story is kind of beginning, middle, end, fleshed out characters. Didn't really have that. So guys, those are my thoughts on Independence Day Resurgence. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you like it as much as I did? Did you hate it more than I did? Let me know. If you have seen the first Independence Day, did you like this one more or less than that one? Tell me why. As always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Once again, if you so choose, I appreciate it immensely. As always, very people, my name is Nick Pell, and once again, keep on watching.